Hey all, guess what? I'm alive! I'm really sorry about the huge delay between this video and the last one. I'll elaborate on that and what will be happening going forward at the end of this video. But for now, I won't waste your time. Let's continue right where we left off. If you'll recall from last episode, the humans of Innistrad, the horrific plane of ghouls and geists, have finally caught a bit of a break. The Archangel Avacyn, created by the planeswalker Sorin Markov, has been freed from the Hell Vault, and light has returned to the world once more. The humans have entered a new golden age of peace and prosperity. Vampires are in retreat, and werewolves have been turned into docile wolfir by Avacyn's great Cursemute spell. Fast forward a little while and, well, something's not right. You see, in the time since Avacyn was freed, something's happened. No one knows for certain, but something is causing strange occurrences throughout Innistrad. And I mean more strange than normal. Werewolves are returning and wolfir are going feral, vampires are acting even more ravenous, and bizarre cults are forming around demons like Ormondal and horrific creatures like the Gitrog monster. Strange, twisted stone monuments called cryptoliths have begun popping up all over, and most significantly, Innistrad's angels have begun to go insane, betraying the very people they were created to protect. This includes Avacyn herself, who has gone from answering the prayers of humans to outright attacking them. The idea became stuck in her mind that the seeds of men are rotten, and since no human could ever be truly and entirely pure, all should be eliminated. For whatever reason, the only Archangel immune to the madness was Sigarda, and she alone kept serving her role as defender of the humans. The other protectors of the world now flew on blood-stained wings. It was amidst this madness that Jace Beleren arrived on Innistrad, seeking Sorin Markov so they could work together to find and eliminate the final Eldrazi Titan. The only problem was that he hadn't the faintest clue where Sorin might be, but he had a friend on Innistrad who might be able to help him. And thus, Jace set out to meet with Liliana Vess. Jace and Liliana had a complicated history. All you really need to know right now is that the two were romantically involved at one point, and after a combination of deceit and assistance by Liliana, they ended up parting. Now they only saw each other when one needed help from the other. The last time they met, if you'll recall, was actually when Liliana visited Jace on Ravnica. The reason for that visit was actually for Liliana to ask Jace for help in fighting her two remaining demons, although that didn't pan out, with Jace going instead to Zendikar with Gideon. Anyway, after a brief meeting at her mansion on Innistrad, Liliana refused to accompany Jace or help him in any way. In fact, she warned Jace that he was wasting his time, he ought to just go home. But despite Liliana's warning, Jace set off in the direction of Markov Manor, Sorin's ancestral home, as that was his only other lead. Perhaps there, Jace would find what he needed. When Jace arrived at the manor, he found it in ruins. The majority of the mansion had been uprooted and was floating, with chunks of stone strewn about the air. Here Jace discovered that he, as powerful a mind mage as he was not safe from the madness that was plaguing the denizens of Innistrad. Through fits of paranoia, Jace found the vampires of Markov Manor embedded in the stone walls of the mansion. He also discovered the journal of the scholar planeswalker Tamiyo, a moonfolk from Kamigawa. This journal contained plenty of invaluable information, from studies on the cryptoliths to the anatomy of a werewolf. As Jace read through the journal, each page and each room in the manor led him to new hallucinations. But despite these, Jace managed to escape from Markov Manor, certain that Tamiyo's journal would help him find Sorin. From there, Jace made his way to the Nephalia Drownyard, guided by the journal at every corner. At the Drownyard, Jace discovered a ring of cryptoliths and toiling zombies and cultists. He had the epiphany that all the cryptoliths scattered throughout the plane were leading here. But all that amounted to in his mind was a dead end. So where was Sorin during all this? Well, while Jace was spending his time fumbling about, Sorin was going around to the other vampires asking for help. Help with what, you might ask? Well, help with an old ally out for vengeance. In particular, this old ally. Yeah, remember NAHIRI? Well, after Sorin didn't answer her summons 1,000 years ago, she went to Innistrad to look for him. It turns out the magic that Sorin used to protect his plane also blocked out NAHIRI's call. When NAHIRI learned how careless Sorin was in regards to the safety of Zendikar, she lashed out at him, attacking him with her lithomancy. When Avacyn sensed her father in danger, she came to the rescue. She wasn't nearly powerful enough to stand up to NAHIRI, however, so before Avacyn was destroyed altogether, Soren intervened and used this opportunity to seal NAHIRI in the Hell Vault as a last resort. When Avacyn and Griselbrand were released from the Hell Vault, so was NAHIRI. Naturally, she immediately went to ZENDIKAR, which she found ruined by the Eldrazi. Furious, she returned to Innistrad and began to assemble the various cryptoliths around the plane. It was clear to Soren that not only was it NAHIRI who destroyed his home and murdered his kin, but whatever NAHIRI was up to was the source of this plane's madness. But what was her endgame? That we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, Jace, after his epiphany at the Drownyard, returned to Liliana, believing she had to be the source of all this. Liliana managed to break through most of Jace's staggering madness as he explained to her what he had seen, blabbering about the journal, ghosts, and an invisible moon. Realizing that Liliana wasn't to blame, Jace asked again for her help, which she again denied. Failing to secure Liliana's help for the second time, Jace decided to head to Thraben, the formerly most guarded city on Innistrad that, if you'll recall, was previously attacked by Liliana, Jissa, and Geralf. Jace traveled to Thraben's cathedral, the former location of the main Avacynian church, convinced that if he could find Avacyn and figure out why she was going mad, then he could fix everything. There he ran into Tamiyo, the writer of the journal he had found, whose latest line of research had led her to the cathedral as well. Tamiyo specializes in capturing magic in the form of stories, and seeing Jace's horrid state, used a story about the plane of Mirrodin to cure him of his madness. Tamiyo warned Jace not to meddle with Innistrad and Avacyn, similarly to how Ugin warned him about the Eldrazi, but despite this, Jace persisted. Tamiyo elected to let Jace at least try to deal with Avacyn. She tied their minds together to tether Jace and protect him from insanity. And conveniently, the duo didn't even need to seek out Avacyn, because Avacyn, sensing two planeswalkers in her cathedral, came right to them. Tamiyo tried to talk to and reason with her, but her attempts quickly failed and Avacyn attacked. Amidst this bout of combat, Tamiyo used one of her scrolls to put Avacyn to sleep, but she quickly awoke, determined to kill these people she saw as impure intruders on her world. And just as Avacyn was about to deal a killing blow, Soren burst through the ceiling with the impeccable timing of a comic book hero. Soren demanded Avacyn come with him, and as he, her creator, tried to reason with her, Avacyn began to come to her senses, realizing all she had done. However, in her twisted logic, she then accused Soren of allowing her to commit the atrocities she had committed. After a brief combat between the two, Soren brought Avacyn through the floor to the basement of the Thraben Cathedral, the very place he had created her. Avacyn still refused to yield and let Soren cure her mind, demanding him to seal her away if he had to, reminding him of his own words, "What cannot be destroyed must be bound." But Soren simply replied, "But Avacyn, you can be destroyed." And so, using the last of his energy, Soren unmade Avacyn, destroying her and her insanity for good. Thank you all so very much for watching. I'm sorry about my elongated absence. I really hoped that wouldn't happen, but here we are. Anyway, the main reason I've been gone is because I suddenly became a lot busier than expected and I just wasn't able to fit everything in my schedule. I actually had several scripts written for a while that I just wasn't able to make videos out of because of how busy I was. Anyway, going into the new year, I plan to start posting regularly again, but every other Friday or maybe every few Fridays instead of every Saturday. And hopefully I'll be able to keep up with that. And a quick special thanks to those of you who reached out to me on Reddit about my absence. Even if I didn't respond to your message, I saw it, and it was very much appreciated. And a quick reminder for those of you who don't know, if you like these stories, you can always find the full official stories on magic.wizards.com/story. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.